In the dark ward of a city hospital, doctors are watching a young man named Yash die, and they have absolutely no idea why. His body is completely drained of energy. His eyes are sunken deep into his skull, and his skin has turned a lifeless pale yellow. But the symptom that truly defies medical logic is the physical trauma: deep black and blue bruises wrapped tightly around his neck, chest, and back. They look exactly as if an invisible entity has been repeatedly, violently crushing him in its arms. Then come the anomalies in his final seconds. Yash's eyes suddenly open, locking onto an empty corner of the ceiling. A heavy, sweet perfume fills the sterile hospital air. His lips tremble as he whispers to the empty room. You're back." A final scream leaves his lungs, and he goes entirely limp. The doctors mark the time of death, still looking for a pathogen. But Yash's condition marks the final stage of a perfectly executed supernatural trap. To understand exactly how he was dismantled, we have to deconstruct the anatomy of a curse. The trap was set a few weeks earlier. Yash and his father traveled to their ancestral village to prepare their family's massive abandoned haveli, or mansion, for sale. The place has been locked up for decades, with rust on the gates and moss climbing the high stone walls. This diagram illustrates the first mechanic of the entity's trap: sensory manipulation. A building this old and neglected should reek of damp earth and rotting wood. Instead, as Yash steps inside, the entity overrides the environment with the intoxicating scent of night-blooming jasmine. By overriding the physical reality of the house, the entity targets Yash's psychological vulnerability. Right before this trip, Yash had a bitter fight with his girlfriend, Gia. She established strict boundaries regarding physical touch, and Yash, refusing to respect her consent, felt incredibly frustrated and entitled to her body. The supernatural presence in the Haveli reads this specific entitlement. It weaponizes his frustration, priming Yash to accept an illusion that provides exactly what his ego demands. Effective supernatural predators calculate their hunt. They identify a victim's specific, unfulfilled desires and mold their entire approach to exploit that flaw. Yash's final mistake happens a few days later, when he and his friends return to the isolated Haveli at night, bringing alcohol and the intention to party one last time before the property is sold. Here, the entity deploys its second hunting mechanic, the illusion. As Yash wanders the dark upstairs hallways, he finds a girl. It looks exactly like Gia, but her behavior is tailored to erase all his previous rejections. This version is entirely compliant and seductive, whispering that she doesn't want to make him angry tonight. Yash sleeps with her, which activates the trap's trigger. This intimacy functions as a binding physical contract, sealing the curse through touch. The devastating reality hits the next morning. Yash washes his face, looks into the bathroom mirror, and the illusion shatters. The reflection staring back at him is a decaying, demonic woman with hollow, dead eyes. The entity utilized this illusion to manipulate Yash into pulling the trigger of his own demise. The terror only arrived once the trap was set. As the dark bruises begin appearing on Yash's body back home, his father rushes back from a trip abroad. One look at his son's neck, and the father collapses in terror. He recognizes the marks immediately. He knows the lore of the Yogini. This flowchart maps out the original sin that started it all. Yash's great-grandfather used dark tantric magic to summon the Yogini. He traded his own autonomy, becoming a slave to the entity, in exchange for massive generational wealth. Realizing the entity was hollowing out his life, the great-grandfather worked with the guru to lock the Yogini inside. The seal required one rule: no male in the bloodline could ever engage in physical relations with her. Yash's moment of unchecked lust shattered the ancestral lock and released the curse from its decades-long quarantine. Back in the present-day hospital room, the final toll comes due. The light bulb overhead shatters. A dense, unnatural shadow drops from the ceiling, consuming Yash's life in a matter of seconds. The Yogini is the literal manifestation of generational debt. Yash inherited the wealth, and with it, the bill. Ultimately, we cannot outrun the dark pacts of our ancestors, especially when we yield to the exact same impulses that created them in the first place.